Imagine this. You're finally about to marry the love of your life, all your dreams falling into place. And then your own family demands you cancel it. Not postpone but cancel. Also, your little sister can have your perfect day instead. It sounds like something out of a twisted movie script, right? Well, it was my reality, and it plunged my entire family into an epic bitter war. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and my fiancé and I have been together for years, engaged for 18 incredibly happy months. Our wedding was set for next spring, and honestly we'd done all the heavy lifting. Venue booked, caterer deposit paid, photographer locked in. We were finally at that sweet spot where we could just relax, breathe, and enjoy the countdown to our big day. But then all hell broke loose. Now, to understand this chaos you need a bit of context. My family is, well, it's big, it's close, and traditions run deep. Weddings. They're practically a national holiday in our household. My sister, she's 25, and she just got engaged recently. And while I genuinely was happy for her, she quickly hit a major snag. She couldn't book the venue she wanted for her dream date. And that's where her envy and, frankly, my nightmare began. She started making comments, subtle at first, then increasingly pointed, about our venue. She called it perfect, gushed about how her fiancé's family couldn't afford something like that. I brushed it off, thinking it was just typical wedding envy. You know, the kind of mild jealousy that pops up when people are planning their own big day. I had no idea how deep her resentment, her entitlement, truly ran. Not until a family dinner a couple of weeks ago. We were all gathered having a perfectly normal meal, when my mom, out of nowhere, launched into this bizarre speech. She started talking about how amazing it would be if my sister could just use our venue. My fork halfway to my mouth literally froze. I thought she was joking, a bad attempt at humor. But she kept going. She spun this whole narrative. My sister is younger, her fiancé is in the military, there's a chance of deployment, and wouldn't it just make sense for her to get married first? And for us to move our wedding date? So my sister could have our venue? My mind was reeling. What? My fiancé and I had this date locked for over a year. Everything was booked, paid for, planned. But my mom was stone cold serious. And my sister? She was sitting there nodding along like it was a done deal, a foregone conclusion. My fiancé, bless her heart, was furious. I could feel the anger radiating off her. She didn't say a single word at the table, just shot me a look that screamed, "Do not even entertain this madness." So I took a deep breath. Politely, but with a firmness I rarely use with my family, I told my mom and sister that there was absolutely no way we were changing our wedding plans. And that's when the waterworks began. My sister burst into full-blown tears. Right there at the dinner table. She stormed out, and my mom, giving us the most disappointed, betrayed look I've ever seen, went after her. The rest of dinner was just an agonizing, silent wasteland. My parents looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. I genuinely thought, in my naive optimism, that would be the end of it. Maybe my sister would cool down, realize how utterly insane the idea was, and we could all just move on. No. The very next day my phone exploded. Texts, missed calls, voicemails, a relentless barrage from almost every family member you can imagine. The general message? I needed to think about family unity. To be the bigger person. My mom clearly had gotten to them first because everyone was acting like this was some tiny inconsequential ask. As if all we had to do was snap our fingers and an entire wedding would magically shift. Some of the messages were pure guilt trip masterpieces. It's just one small sacrifice for the sake of family harmony, they'd say, as if moving a meticulously planned, expensive wedding was equivalent to choosing a different flavor of ice cream. Then my mom called, her voice dripping with disappointment, going on and on about how weddings are supposed to bring families together, not divide them. She even invoked my grandmother, saying how disappointed she'd be if we couldn't all get along for such an important event. Meanwhile, I was just staring at my phone, feeling like I'd stumbled into some bizarre alternate universe. My fiancé, as you can imagine, was absolutely livid. She didn't even want me to entertain these conversations, and I didn't blame her. This was our wedding. We'd poured our hearts and souls into making everything perfect. For us. I was completely overwhelmed. So, I did what any rational person does in the age of the internet. I turned to Reddit. I threw up a post, explaining the whole unbelievable situation, asking if I was being unreasonable for refusing to change our date. I was half expecting people to say, "Yeah, family comes first, you should consider it." But the response, it was intense. The post absolutely blew up. People were furious on my behalf, practically screaming at me through their keyboards to stand my ground, to not give in to this outrageous demand. The Reddit support was amazing, but it also hammered home just how utterly ridiculous this whole situation truly was. And then my sister delivered her ultimate blow. A text message, an ultimatum. Either I give up our date or she wouldn't come to the wedding. And she'd make damn sure the rest of the family didn't either. I honestly didn't think things could get worse, but now it felt like my entire family was turning against me. All because I wouldn't let my sister hijack the most important day of my life. At this point, I felt completely lost. I was trying to stay calm, trying not to let this suffocating pressure ruin the excitement of our upcoming wedding, but it was getting intense. My fiancé and I were thankfully on the exact same page. We weren't changing a thing. But with the family piling on the guilt, and my sister basically threatening to blow everything up, it felt like this was just the beginning of a much, much bigger mess. By the way, if you've been on the edge of your seat through this roller coaster of family drama, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss the wild twists still to come. And your support means the world. The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing nonstop on my nightstand. Half asleep, I thought it was work or some random spam call, but no. It was family again. More texts, more missed calls. My grandmother, surprisingly, was leading the charge this time, urging me to do the right thing and keep the family together. It was like they'd all gotten the same script overnight. Everyone was suddenly on board with this idea that I should just hand over our wedding date like it was no big deal. The guilt trip was undeniably real, and I could feel the pressure building, squeezing tighter. By mid-morning, I was trying to shake it off, but then my parents showed up at our place unannounced. Their faces were grim, and I knew instantly this wasn't going to be a casual visit. My fiancé and I let them in, and right away they launched into this whole spiel about family traditions. My dad, usually the more rational one, started saying how in our family, it's always been customary for the younger sibling to marry first if they're ready. My mom, trying to be more emotional, talked about how torn up the family was, and how she worried this situation would cause a permanent rift. It was heavy, suffocating. But my fiancé, she wasn't having any of it. She stood her ground, calmly but with an unshakable firmness, letting them know that we absolutely were not moving our wedding date. She explained again that everything was booked, paid for, planned. Changing anything now would cost us thousands of dollars, not to mention the immense stress and logistical nightmare it would create. My parents looked utterly shocked, as if they hadn't expected her to be so direct, so resolute. Then out of nowhere, my mom broke down crying. She kept saying she couldn't handle the idea of the family being divided over this, and she begged me to reconsider. It was brutal seeing her that upset, and for a fleeting moment I felt truly torn. But I also knew deep down that this was an impossible situation. Changing our wedding plans just to make everyone else happy wasn't fair to my fiancé, or to me. Before I could even respond, my younger brother, he's 22, chimed in. He's usually quiet when it comes to family drama, but this time he backed me up strongly. He told my parents they were being completely unreasonable, and that I should just do what makes me happy. He even offered to be my security at the wedding if things got out of hand with the family. My parents didn't really know how to respond to that unexpected rebellion, so they eventually left, still upset, but perhaps realizing they weren't going to change my mind. Later that day, things got even messier. My sister had gone on Facebook and posted one of those super passive-aggressive statuses. Something about how some people can be so selfish, and how she was disappointed in the people who were supposed to be there for her during this stressful time. I knew with a sickening certainty it was aimed directly at me. But the kicker was how many family members were liking and commenting on it. More drama. More fuel to the fire. Then my mom called again. This time she wasn't polite. She flat out accused me of ruining her daughter's wedding dreams. She went on about how my sister was now talking about eloping because she was so stressed out from all of this. It felt like every conversation with them was a new layer of guilt. A fresh assault. But it wasn't going to work. My fiancé and I had already decided. We weren't changing anything. My mom hung up on me, still furious. At that point, my fiancé suggested we go low contact with the family for a while. She was right. The constant calls, messages, and Facebook drama were taking an immense toll on both of us. So we made a plan to step back, to focus on us until the wedding was over. I even reached out to our wedding planner, just to see if there was any possibility of my sister sharing the venue on a different weekend, just to try and calm things down. No luck. The planner told us that the venue was booked solid for months. It wasn't even an option. Feeling utterly drained, my fiancé and I decided to take a break from everything and planned a weekend getaway. Just the two of us. No drama. No family. No wedding talk. It was exactly what we needed to reset and get our heads back on straight. Meanwhile, my sister's fiancé texted me. He apologized for all the drama, seemed genuinely embarrassed, and said he tried talking to her, but nothing was working. I appreciated the gesture, but it didn't change the fact that my sister and mom were still in full meltdown mode. As if things couldn't get worse, the family group chat exploded. Relatives were taking sides. Some were backing me up, saying this whole thing was ridiculous, while others were calling me selfish for not bending to family tradition. It was a full-blown family war, with people I hadn't heard from in months suddenly weighing in. It was all too much. I ended up booking a session with my therapist to help process all the guilt and pressure. Reddit was still blowing up with support from strangers, telling me to stick to my guns and cut off anyone toxic in my life. And they weren't wrong. I started to truly realize how much I'd been bending over backward to accommodate my family, and enough was finally enough. I wasn't going to let this drama overshadow our wedding. This was supposed to be about my fiancé and me, and it was time to start acting like it. A few days after we decided to go low contact, things took a truly dramatic turn. My sister had what I can only describe as a full-on meltdown. I woke up to a massive text message from her, about 10 paragraphs long, saying I had ruined her life, and that I was responsible for destroying her wedding plans. She went on and on about how she had been dreaming of this perfect wedding since she was a little girl, and now that dream was falling apart because I wouldn't give her our venue. She was throwing every guilt-tripping tactic she could think of at me, talking about how I was older and should be more mature, and how she needed the venue more than I did because her fiancé might be deployed soon. It was completely over the top and honestly pretty exhausting to read. But I didn't respond. I figured engaging with her would only make things worse. Apparently that wasn't enough for my mom. My sister escalated things further by calling my parents and laying down an ultimatum. Either I give up the wedding date, or they wouldn't speak to me again. My mom called me afterward, and I could hear the stress in her voice. She was trying to hold it together, but I knew she was struggling. She told me how heartbroken she was that the family was being torn apart over something like this, and begged me to reconsider one last time. I told her firmly that I wasn't changing my mind, and while she didn't say it, I could tell she finally understood that this wasn't going to go away. In the meantime, my fiancé and I had to start sending out our wedding invitations. But with all the family tension, it was nearly impossible to focus. It should have been a fun, exciting part of the process, but instead, it felt like we were walking on eggshells. Every name we added to the guest list felt like another potential source of drama. As if on cue, the family group chat exploded again. This time, one of my uncles chimed in to defend my sister, saying that family always comes first, and I should just let her have the date. More relatives jumped into the fray, and it turned into another back and forth of accusations and passive-aggressive jabs. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. But then, something truly unexpected happened. My older cousin, who's 31 and usually stays completely out of family drama, stepped in. She sent a message to the group chat saying the whole situation was ridiculous, and pointed out that my sister had a long history of attention-seeking behavior. She basically called out the entire family for enabling it, which honestly felt like a breath of fresh air. Finally, someone else was seeing this for what it really was. The group chat went dead quiet after that, and I was secretly hoping that would be the end of it. Of course it wasn't. A few days later, I got word that my sister had tried to book the same venue for the weekend before our wedding. She actually went behind our backs and tried to secure it. But thankfully, it was already booked for another event, so her plan didn't work. The venue staff, clearly seeing this coming, contacted me to let me know what had happened. I wasn't surprised, but I was definitely infuriated. To make matters worse, her fiancé reached out to me again, apologizing profusely. He told me he had tried everything to get her to let it go, but she just wouldn't drop it. He was clearly embarrassed, and I actually felt genuinely bad for the guy. It seemed like he was caught in the middle of this whole mess too. And then, in a surprising turn of events, my parents finally came around. After hearing about the latest stunt my sister pulled with the venue, they told me I was doing the right thing by sticking to my plans. It was a huge relief to have their support, but they still urged me to keep the peace with the rest of the family, which was easier said than done at this point. My fiancé and I had truly had enough. We made the difficult decision to go completely no contact with my sister and her immediate family until after the wedding. It wasn't an easy choice, but it felt absolutely necessary. There was just too much stress and drama, and we needed to focus on making our wedding day what we wanted it to be. My fiancé's parents, who had been watching all of this unfold from the sidelines, expressed concern that the drama might overshadow our wedding, but they fully supported us in cutting ties. They assured us that no matter what, they were there for us, and it felt incredibly good to have that kind of unwavering support. Meanwhile, Reddit continued to rally behind us. Every time I posted an update, more people shared their own stories of family drama, encouraging us to stay strong and cut off anyone who was toxic. The community support was honestly one of the few things keeping me sane through all of this. In therapy, I talked through the guilt and pressure I was feeling, and my therapist reminded me to set firm boundaries. She encouraged me to stay focused on my happiness and not let anyone else's expectations ruin this special time. Then came the final straw. During my fiancé's dress fitting, I got an emotional voicemail from my grandmother. She was begging me to make peace with my sister, saying she didn't want to see the family divided. It was hard to hear, and I could tell it was affecting my fiancé as well. But despite everything, we were determined not to let this drama ruin our big day. With my fiancé's constant, unwavering support, we decided to push forward with our plans, no matter what happened. We were going to make our wedding day about us and the love we shared. Not about the family drama that had been trying so hard to overshadow it. A week after deciding to go no contact with my sister and her immediate family, things somehow managed to get even worse. I got a call from the wedding venue manager early one morning, and right away I knew something was wrong. The manager explained that someone had called pretending to be me, trying to cancel our venue booking. Luckily, they flagged the request as suspicious and didn't go through with it. But the fact that someone had actually tried to sabotage our wedding hit hard. It didn't take long to figure out who was behind it. The venue manager gave us the date and time of the call, and everything lined up perfectly. It had to be my sister. There was no one else who would be this desperate or petty. I was shocked but at the same time not entirely surprised. She had already tried booking the venue for the weekend before our wedding. Clearly, this was her next, more extreme move. When I told my fiancé what had happened, she was furious and immediately wanted to involve the police. She was right. It was impersonation, and trying to cancel someone's wedding venue crossed a very serious line. But I hesitated. Filing a police report meant taking this drama to a whole new level, and I wasn't sure I was ready for the intense family fallout that would inevitably come with it. Still, I knew we needed to protect ourselves, so we decided to keep that option on the table. The most painful part of all this was the deafening silence from my family after the sabotage attempt. I expected anyone to step in and call out my sister for what she did. But no one said a word. Not my aunt, not my other cousins, not even the relatives who'd been on my side before. It was like they were all pretending nothing had happened. This silence cut deeper than the actual sabotage. It felt like the family was actively choosing to turn a blind eye to her behavior. When I told my parents about the attempted cancellation, they were absolutely furious. My dad, usually the calm and rational one, immediately called my aunt to confront her. That led to a massive argument at a family gathering later that week. My parents were demanding answers, but my aunt, in typical fashion, tried to downplay the whole thing. She claimed my sister was just emotional and hadn't meant any harm, saying that it was just a reaction to all the stress she was under. No apology, no accountability, just excuses. That, of course, set off another explosion in the family group chat. Relatives started picking sides again, with some still defending my sister. They echoed my aunt's excuses, saying things like she's just stressed, and it's just wedding drama, she didn't mean it. But others, thankfully, were disgusted by what she'd done. A few people messaged me privately saying they couldn't believe she'd stooped so low. As for my sister, she finally sent me a text. It wasn't much of an apology though. She wrote that she was acting out of stress and hoped we could move past this. It was infuriating. After everything she'd done, the Facebook drama, trying to steal the venue, and now actively sabotaging our wedding plans, this half-hearted apology felt like a slap in the face. There was no mention of what she actually did, or any real acknowledgement of the harm she caused. I decided I'd had enough. I posted an update on Reddit, explaining the sabotage attempt and how my sister had pretended to be me to cancel the booking. The response was overwhelming. The post went viral again with thousands of comments pouring in. People were outraged, calling out my sister's toxic behavior and encouraging me to go no contact for good. Many suggested I file a police report and take legal steps to protect myself. All of this was weighing heavily on my fiancée. She was becoming more and more frustrated with how the drama was overshadowing our wedding planning. It was supposed to be an exciting time for us, but instead it felt like we were constantly putting out fires. She was right. This was adding unnecessary stress to what should have been a happy period in our lives. Our wedding planner even stepped in with a warning. She advised us to be cautious moving forward, especially with family involvement. She recommended hiring additional security for the wedding day just in case. That was the last thing we wanted to hear, but given everything that had happened, it seemed like a smart move. After talking it over with my fiancé and close friends, we made the decision to go completely no contact with my sister and aunt until after the wedding. There was no way we could keep them in our lives without it continuing to cause more stress. It was a hard decision, but it felt like the only option left. Of course, my aunt wasn't done yet. She delivered one final ultimatum. If I didn't make peace with my sister, she and my sister would make sure a large portion of the family boycotted the wedding. I didn't even bother responding. At this point, it felt like their threats were empty and manipulative, and I wasn't going to let them bully me into giving in. In the end, we did file a police report. We wanted to have everything documented in case anything else happened. It wasn't about getting anyone arrested. It was about protecting ourselves and having legal protection moving forward. It felt like a weight had been lifted off our shoulders once we made that decision. Despite the ongoing drama, my fiancé and I pushed forward with our wedding plans. We hired extra security, finalized our guest list, and decided to focus on the people who were truly supportive. It wasn't going to be the picture-perfect family wedding we had originally envisioned, but we were determined not to let my sister ruin our big day. This was our wedding, and we were going to make it special no matter what. The boycott wasn't just an empty threat. My sister followed through, rallying a decent chunk of the family to refuse to attend the wedding. Several aunts, uncles, and cousins who I thought would come sent us vague messages or just went silent altogether. It felt strange seeing so many empty RSVPs rolling in, knowing they'd been swayed by her manipulative tactics. It wasn't just a simple, "I can't make it." It was clear they were taking sides, and it stung more than I wanted to admit. My parents were struggling with it the most. They'd been fully supportive of our decision to hold firm on the wedding plans, but they were deeply hurt seeing the family torn apart like this. They tried to convince a few relatives to reconsider, but most of them wouldn't budge. It was like they'd drawn a line in the sand, and nothing was going to change their minds. By the time the wedding rehearsal came around, the tension was thick in the air. The absence of those family members was noticeable, and it cast an awkward shadow over the evening. My fiancé's family, thankfully, was incredibly supportive. They'd been watching this entire circus from the sidelines, and while they were concerned about how all of this might affect the wedding day, they were there for us 100%. Their presence and calm energy helped offset the tension, but you could still feel the rift hanging over everything. Luckily, our close friends came through in a big way. Many of the roles family members were supposed to fill, like helping with setup and coordination, were quickly taken over by our friends. They rallied around us, stepping up to make sure everything would run smoothly. Honestly, without them, I don't know how we would have managed. They kept the mood light, which helped ease the pressure and allowed us to focus on the excitement of getting married. Meanwhile, my sister had shifted gears and was posting nonstop on social media about her own wedding. It was like she was trying to distract everyone from our wedding by throwing all the attention onto hers. The timing was no accident. It felt like a calculated move to steal the spotlight. And then things took another turn. A friend of mine who was still connected with some of my sister's friends sent me screenshots of private messages between them. In these messages, my sister openly admitted she wanted to ruin my wedding out of pure jealousy. She even laughed about how successful she'd been in getting people to boycott. The messages were brutal. They painted her in the worst possible light, and seeing her true malicious intentions written out like that hit hard. Those screenshots didn't stay private for long. They started circulating around our family, and soon enough, a social media war broke out. Some relatives rushed to defend her, saying she was just young and emotional, and had acted out of stress. But others, thankfully, were horrified. A few who had initially sided with her even reached out to apologize and offered to come to the wedding, though it was too little, too late. I updated my Reddit post with the leaked messages, and as expected, the response was intense. Reddit exploded with outrage. People were disgusted with her behavior, and the support I received was overwhelming. Some users suggested going completely no contact with anyone who defended her, and as tempting as that was, I knew I needed to focus on the wedding. I wasn't going to let this mess consume any more of my energy. My therapist's advice was the same. She encouraged me to focus on the joy of the wedding, and not let these toxic family members steal that from me. The no-contact decision felt more and more like the right move with each passing day. As we got closer to the wedding, my fiancé's family stepped in even more, offering both emotional and logistical support. They filled the gaps left by the boycotting relatives without missing a beat. It was a huge relief to have them there, making sure everything was in place and that we felt surrounded by love, not drama. Given all the sabotage attempts, we decided to hire extra security for the wedding. It wasn't something we ever thought we'd need, but with everything that had happened, it was better to be safe than sorry. The last thing we wanted was for my sister to pull some last-minute stunt and ruin our big day. When the wedding day finally arrived, there was a mix of excitement and nerves. We were both a little on edge, wondering if there would be any interference from my sister or those boycotting family members. But as the ceremony began, all of those worries started to melt away. The people who truly cared about us were there, and that's what mattered. The absence of several family members was noticeable, but surprisingly, it didn't dampen the mood. Instead, we focused on the love and support from the people who showed up. We had a beautiful ceremony, surrounded by friends and the family members who actually wanted to be there. As the day went on, all the drama seemed to fade into the background. The reception was full of laughter, dancing, and moments we'll cherish forever. In the days that followed, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. The wedding was a success, and it had gone off without a hitch. But I also knew that my relationship with certain family members had been permanently damaged. There was no going back from what had happened, and I was okay with that. The people who truly mattered were there for us, and in the end, that's what counted. We made it through all the chaos, and now we could finally move forward with our lives, leaving the family drama behind us. Months after our wedding, as my sister's much-hyped big day approached, whispers started circulating. Vendors canceling. Major financial issues. It was an open secret in the family, but no one dared to address it directly with her. I kept my distance, still reeling from the past, trying not to get involved. But you know how these things go. The universe, it seems, has a strange sense of humor. Just a week before her wedding, the bomb dropped. Her venue canceled on her. Some error, they said. A double booking. When I heard the news, a quiet, almost unsettling wave of karmic justice washed over me. After everything she had tried to pull with our wedding, this felt like the universe giving her a taste of her own medicine. I wasn't gloating, not outwardly, but I certainly wasn't surprised. You can only throw so much negativity, so much chaos, into the world before it boomerangs right back to you. And then, of course, the utterly predictable happened. My aunt, in a full-blown panic, reached out. She begged me to help save my sister's wedding. She went on and on about how I was family, and surely I could pull some strings to find her another venue at the absolute last minute. The sheer, unadulterated audacity of it left me speechless. After all the drama, the sabotage attempts, the family turning against us, they actually expected me to swoop in and fix everything? I wasn't having it. Politely, but with an unwavering resolve that surprised even me, I told my aunt I couldn't help. And frankly, I didn't want to. After everything they had put us through, I wasn't going to sacrifice my hard-won peace, my well-being, for them. My fiancé, my rock through all of this, backed me up 100%. We decided together that we were officially done with that kind of toxic behavior. No more bending over backward to make other people happy, especially not the ones who had actively tried to ruin our wedding. As expected, the backlash was immediate. My aunt and sister, predictably, rallied the family against me again, accusing me of being cold-hearted, selfish, unforgiving. Relatives started reaching out, trying their usual guilt trip tactics, trying to manipulate me into changing my mind. But this time I was stronger. I stood firm. I ignored the drama. It rolled off me like water off a duck's back. When my sister's wedding day finally arrived, it was a chaotic, scaled-down affair. She'd managed to pull something together at the last minute, but it was a far cry from the grand, perfect event she'd been bragging about for months. Most of the family who had boycotted my wedding showed up for hers, but the tension was palpable, a heavy cloud hanging over everything. I didn't go, of course, but from what I heard, the entire event felt strained, uncomfortable, like no one really wanted to be there. It wasn't the fairy tale wedding she had envisioned, and honestly, it felt like she'd gotten exactly what she deserved. In the quiet aftermath, I found myself reflecting on everything we'd endured. It was undeniably sad to realize that some relationships with my family were probably damaged beyond repair. But I have no regrets. Absolutely none. Standing up for myself, for my fiancé, for our future taught me so much. About setting firm boundaries. About not letting toxic people control my life. My fiancé looked at me, her eyes full of love, and simply said, "We made the right decisions." Our wedding day was perfect because it was about us, not their drama. I posted one final update on Reddit, thanking that incredible community for their unwavering support throughout this insane ordeal. They were a lifeline truly during the toughest moments. I wanted them to know how we were finally moving forward, grateful for all their advice and encouragement, ready to close this chaotic chapter and focus on our future together. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of comments cheering us on as we left the family chaos behind. Months later, I did receive another apology from my sister. This time it felt more sincere. She admitted her actions had been driven by deep jealousy and stress, expressing genuine regret. But even with that, I decided to keep my distance. Some wounds, some betrayals are too deep to heal quickly, and I knew deep down that letting her back into my life would only invite more chaos. I was done with that. My family remains divided. Some relatives are still angry, convinced I should have kept the peace. But others, thankfully, have come around, seeing my sister for who she truly is. It's a strange feeling, knowing some people in my family may never forgive me, but I've made my peace with it. You can't please everyone, and I'm done trying. Through all of this, my bond with my close friends has only grown stronger, becoming an unshakable foundation. They stood by me through every meltdown, every ridiculous twist in this saga, and they showed me what true support, true family looks like. I am incredibly grateful for the people who chose to stand by us through thick and thin. Looking back, I have no regrets about how I handled the situation. I am immensely proud of the boundaries we set. This rough, heartbreaking road has made me stronger, teaching me invaluable lessons about dealing with toxic family dynamics. Now my wife and I are focusing entirely on our future together. We're planning the next chapter of our lives, building something centered on love, respect, and most importantly, peace. The family drama may never fully go away, but we are ready to move forward without it weighing us down. So tell me, I really want to know, what would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever had family drama try to hijack one of the most important moments of your life? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for listening to my story.